5 of the world's leading scientists, John von Neumann, Albert Einstein, Enrico Fermi, Edward Teller, and Theodor von Kármán, were pioneers in their respective fields. They migrated from Europe to the United States, becoming part of a broader wave of global brain drain. This phenomenon describes the migration of top scientists, scholars, and intellectuals, particularly from Europe to the US, in search of better opportunities to advance their careers and contribute to intellectual progress. The reasons behind this movement were complex and not solely tied to the context of World War II, though the war played a significant catalytic role. Even after the war ended, this intellectual migration not only continued, but expanded globally. The rise of fascism and World War II. In Europe, the brain drain gained momentum in the 1930s with the rise of fascism in Nazi Germany. Persecution, especially against Jewish scientists, forced many to seek safe havens to preserve their careers. When World War II erupted, the migration intensified as scientists from Germany and Axis-controlled territories fled authoritarian regimes and sought opportunities in the West, particularly the US. Between 1930 and 1941, over 1,150 Jewish scientists emigrated to America, 7 of whom later became Nobel laureates, including Albert Einstein. This figure excludes many non-Jewish scientists from other nations who also chose the US during this period. Contributions of immigrant scientists. These immigrant scientists quickly integrated into the American scientific community and made monumental contributions to various fields. One of their most notable impacts was their role in the Manhattan Project, which led to the successful development of the atomic bomb. Beyond this direct contribution, they served as mentors, educators, and inspirations for subsequent generations of American scientists, laying the groundwork for long-term scientific achievements. Before World War II, German physics was considered superior to that of the US, to the extent that many talented American students studied in Germany. However, the Manhattan Project's success shifted the balance of power in favor of the US notable figures and their influence. Scientists like Enrico Fermi, who fled Italy due to racial laws targeting his Jewish wife, and Edward Teller, the father of the hydrogen bomb, made groundbreaking contributions. However, their enduring legacy lies in their roles as mentors and visionaries. Prestigious American universities such as Princeton, New York University, Cornell, and the Carnegie Institute of Technology became vibrant academic hubs thanks to the presence of these brilliant minds. Albert Einstein and others inspired and trained a new generation of American scientists, propelling the US to the forefront of science and technology. The chain effect in science. By 1977, among the 92 US-based Nobel laureates, 48 had either been mentored by or worked with previous Nobel Prize winners. For example, Enrico Fermi mentored 6 Nobel laureates, while 6 Jewish scientists who emigrated to the US between 1930 and 1941 trained another 6 Nobel laureates. This chain effect in mentorship and collaboration solidified the US's position as a global leader in science. The second wave of migration. Although it was expected that intellectual migration would decline after World War II, a second wave of migration occurred. This time, it was not scientists fleeing political oppression, but those with expertise, knowledge, and high-level skills, particularly from Germany. Even under Nazi rule, Germany remained a cradle for talented scientists. Known for their precision, reliability, and innovation, German technical skills became a valuable asset sought by both the United States and the Soviet Union after the fall of the Nazis. German scientists, engineers, and technicians faced a tough choice: risk trial and possible imprisonment, or collaborate with the US. This was the context for Operation Paperclip. Initially, this operation aimed to bring German experts to the US for 6 months to a year to assist in the fight against Japan. However, as the Cold War began, its purpose shifted to recruiting German scientists to aid in the arms and space races between the US and the Soviet Union. Between 1945 and 1959, the US secretly recruited over 1,600 German specialists, including notable figures like Werner von Braun, the father of the V-2 rocket and a pioneer in space exploration, who later became the first director of NASA. Although the Soviet Union launched Sputnik 1, the world's first artificial satellite, the US eventually won the race to the moon, thanks in part to the critical contributions of German scientists. Post-Cold War migration trends. After the Cold War, this wave of intellectual migration temporarily subsided as the US shifted its focus away from rapid weapons and technology development. However, with the rise of Russia in the 2000s and increasing competition from China, the US reignited its global talent recruitment strategy. The approach to attracting talent, particularly from Europe, has evolved. Today, rather than fleeing authoritarian regimes, many Europeans migrate to the US seeking a more favorable business environment and relief from administrative burdens. Comparing administrative systems, the contrast between the administrative systems in the US and Europe highlights an interesting paradox. The US employs over 2 million federal civil servants for its population of 330 million, while the European Union has only 60,000 officials serving 440 million people. However, the issue is not about the number of civil servants, but rather the entrepreneurial spirit and startup culture. Europe's complex regulations, administrative hurdles, and high taxes make starting a business more expensive and challenging. While some of these regulations, such as data protection policies, bring benefits, they also stifle entrepreneurship and slow innovation. And additionally, European startups often face significant challenges in raising capital. Cultural differences in investment. The entrepreneurial gap is also evident in the mindset of investors. American investors, especially venture capital funds, are far more willing to take risks than their European counterparts. In Silicon Valley, even the boldest ideas have a chance to secure funding, and failure is often viewed as a valuable learning experience. Conversely, European investors tend to be more cautious, favoring established companies with proven profitability. The scale of available capital also highlights this disparity. US venture capital firms manage $271 billion, while their European counterparts handle only $44 billion. The US as a land of opportunity. These differences make the US an attractive destination for young European entrepreneurs eager to turn their startup dreams into reality. This trend often starts in academia, with prestigious US universities like Stanford, MIT, and Harvard drawing international students, including many Europeans. A notable example is the Irish billionaire brothers John and Patrick Collison. They attended Harvard and MIT before dropping out to establish Stripe, one of Silicon Valley's most successful tech unicorns. Not only individuals, but even European-founded companies are increasingly relocating their headquarters to the US to benefit from lower taxes and a more dynamic, open business environment. For instance, 4 French tech unicorns, Algolia, Dataiku, Evalua, and shift technology have recently moved their headquarters to the US, exemplifying this trend, the brain drain effect. This has led to a significant brain drain from Europe as its most talented and innovative minds continue migrating to the US. The relocation of high-value tech companies further exacerbates this trend, driving up average wages in the US, particularly in the tech sector, to levels significantly higher than those in Europe. This creates a vicious cycle where attractive salaries in the US draw even more top talent from Europe, intensifying the brain drain phenomenon. Modern perspective on migration and brain drain balancing. Work and life in Europe. While salaries in the US are higher, often accompanied by intense competitive pressure, Europe offers distinct advantages. Lower living costs, progressive social policies, a strong work-life balance, and generous welfare systems help Europe attract and retain talent. However, these benefits are increasingly overshadowed by a demographic crisis. Europe's aging population raises concerns among younger generations about the sustainability of pension systems. Many fear whether these systems will endure or even exist when they retire. This uncertainty has driven some to move to the US in search of financial stability and a more secure future. Reverse brain drain. Americans moving to Europe. Interestingly, Europe's attractive welfare systems and quality of life have created a reverse brain drain, drawing Americans to Europe. Between 2013 and 2022, the number of Americans living in the Netherlands increased from approximately 15,500 to 24,000. In Portugal, the figure tripled to nearly 10,000, while in Spain, it rose from 20,000 to nearly 34,000. Growth in countries like France, Germany, and the Nordic region has been moderate or stable. The UK saw an increase in American residents from 137,000 in 2013 to 166,000 in 2021. Europe's startup ecosystem and global talent competition. Europe has also been investing heavily in its startup ecosystem. Between 2019 and 2022, the number of funded startups doubled, and Europe's share of global venture capital investment tripled between 2003 and 2023. These efforts reflect Europe's determination to attract talent and compete with the US in innovation and entrepreneurship, Asian immigration, and its transformational impact. Since the Immigration and Nationality Act of 1965, which prioritized skilled workers in fields like healthcare and engineering and eliminated discriminatory quotas, the US has seen a surge in immigration from Asia, particularly from China, India, and the Philippines. Each country has unique motivations for migration, but common factors include escaping political conditions, seeking financial opportunities, and improving quality of life. In 1972, 7,143 foreign-trained doctors migrated to the US, with nearly 5,000 coming from Asia, compared to only 911 from Europe. Chinese immigration has since grown significantly, doubling between 1980 and 1990, and nearly doubling again between 1990 and 2000. Today, Chinese immigrants represent the third largest immigrant group in the US, accounting for 5% of the total 45.3 million immigrant population. The US is the primary destination for Chinese immigrants worldwide, hosting 28% of the 8.6 million Chinese living abroad as of 2020. This highly educated group forms a significant share of foreign students in US universities and is the second largest recipient of employer-sponsored H-1B visas in 2021 after India. India's brain drain phenomenon. Indian immigrants are the second largest foreign-born group in the US. 6% of the immigrant population have had a transformative impact, especially in technology. The wave of Indian migration has grown so prominently that it is often referred to as India's brain drain. Many Indian professionals occupy senior leadership roles in top tech firms. Silicon Valley, the heart of the global tech industry, is renowned for its diverse workforce, with immigrants playing a crucial role. 69% of the tech workforce are immigrants, including 26% from India and 14% from China. Broader impacts of Asian immigration. The influence of Asian immigrants extends beyond technology. By 2020, the US had 209,000 internationally trained medical graduates, 60% of whom were from low-income countries. India leads with 41,000 doctors, making up nearly 20% of foreign-trained physicians practicing in the US. The Philippines plays a crucial role in the US healthcare system, particularly in nursing. This connection dates back to 1898, when the US established nursing schools in the Philippines to teach Western medicine in English. Since the 1960s, over 150,000 Filipino nurses have worked in the US, making up 4% of the registered nursing workforce nationwide. In states like California, this number reaches 20%, highlighting the US healthcare system's heavy reliance on Filipino nurses, even as the Philippines faces its own healthcare labor shortages. Migration from Latin America and brain drain. The phenomenon of brain drain is also significant in Latin America, where skilled professionals seek better opportunities abroad, further influencing global labor and talent trends. Brain drain in Latin America and beyond the Venezuelan case. Latin America provides a striking example of brain drain, particularly in Venezuela. Since Hugo Chavez and his successor, Nicolas Maduro, took power, over 1.5 million Venezuelans have emigrated, the majority of whom are highly educated. A study by the Central University of Venezuela revealed that more than 90% of Venezuelan immigrants hold a university degree, 40% have a master's degree, and 12% possess doctoral or postdoctoral qualifications. Between 2011 and 2015, the university lost 700 of its 4,000 professors. Similarly, Simón Bolívar University, Venezuela's leading institution in STEM fields, lost 240 professors between 2009 and 2014. Highly skilled immigrants across Latin America. The trend of emigration by highly educated individuals is not limited to Venezuela. A 2018 statistic showed that 43% of Argentinians in the US hold university degrees, compared to just 20% within Argentina. This trend is unsurprising, as people naturally seek better economic opportunities, safer living conditions, and less corrupt environments. For South American countries like Argentina and Venezuela, emigrating to the US requires significant financial resources, meaning that most immigrants come from wealthy, well-educated backgrounds. Even in Mexico, which is geographically closer to the US, brain drain is evident. In 2013, Mexico had 30,000 citizens with doctoral degrees, one-third of whom lived in the United States. Similarly, more than 80% of university graduates from Caribbean nations like Suriname, Jamaica, Haiti, Grenada, and Guyana have emigrated predominantly to the US. Global brain drain trends. While African and Middle Eastern immigrants often choose Europe due to geographic proximity, their contributions to US development are undeniable, even though comprehensive data remains limited. Importantly, the US is not the only beneficiary of global brain drain. Western Europe attracts talent from Eastern and Southern Europe. Singapore draws skilled workers from Malaysia and Indonesia, and the Middle East and Africa also supply talent to Western Europe. The US, as the primary beneficiary despite competition, historically and presently, the US remains the biggest beneficiary of global talent migration. Its status as a land of unparalleled opportunities continues to make it a magnet for the world's brightest minds. However, as other nations intensify efforts to retain their talent, questions arise about whether the US can maintain its competitive edge, especially in STEM fields. The global race for talent is ongoing, and the US's ability to adapt to new challenges will determine its position in this high-stakes competition.